to the dark side.
Greetings. I am Lord Bruticus, and this is episode 29 of the Dark Side Chats. My telephone guest this time is named Walter Hunt, although he is also known as darthbruticus, and he is the founder of the Sith fan group The Lair of the Sith. Here now is my telephone conversation with Walter Hunt. Welcome, Walter, to the Dark Side Chats.
Greetings, Lord Bruticus. It is an honor to be on the Dark Side Chat with my fellow Sith Lord.
Thank you very much. Well, you actually do have the distinct honor of being the first person to approach me wanting to be a guest on the show. Before, I've gone to people asking them if they would like to be on the show, and you're the first person who's just come to me out of the blue wanting to be on the show, and I do appreciate it. So, now, one of the things that you wanted to talk about specifically was the original trilogy versus prequel trilogy. Which is better, which is more popular, and why? Now, I would think predominantly, just being a fan of Star Wars myself, that most fans really do appreciate the original trilogy more than the prequel trilogy. Now, I have to say that, as for me, I love all things Star Wars, whether it's original trilogy, prequel trilogy, Clone Wars. For me, as long as it says Star Wars, it's automatically cool. But it's not like that with all fans. Where do you stand, and why is that?
Lord Bruticus is funny. I prefer the original trilogy because it's something I grew up with, and the dialogue's a little bit more well written, and the characters are more memorable. And the prequels, I mean, yes, it's part Star Wars. I agree. I like it, but I don't think it's my favorite because the fact that Jar Jar Binks, I mean, he's just a crazy character. I mean, we didn't need an additional hero. We had R2-D2 and C-3PO. As a kid, I grew up with that. And we had the Ewoks. And I believe the prequels seemed like they were aimed at kids, and the original trilogy is aimed at the young adult or the adults of that generation. It's a phenomenal. It's once in a lifetime kind of movie series. And the prequels, I wasn't too happy with Anakin being casted as 9 years old. I was hoping he would have been casted a little bit like 14 or 15, but I mean, it's just the way it turned out, I reckon.
It sure was interesting seeing Jake Lloyd portraying Anakin Skywalker, who I think he did a really good job playing the part of a 9-year-old Anakin. I think in Episode 1, Jake Lloyd and Natalie Portman, Anakin and Padme weren't having a full-on relationship yet, but there was just the one little scene on board Padme's ship where she told Anakin, "But my caring for you will always remain," and I just thought that was a little bit, but yeah, I could see what you mean. Now, you say the characters in the original trilogy are a lot more memorable than the characters in the prequel trilogy. Do you have any specifics, really, like who from the original trilogy would be more memorable than, say, someone in the prequel trilogy, and why would that be?
Well, in the original trilogy, we were introduced to Boba Fett. Boba Fett has always been my non-Force user favorite. Or Han Solo, the cocky smuggler who was pretty much like a space cowboy. But in the prequels, they were like in a mercenary. I mean, they may have had Jango as a bounty hunter, but yet Boba Fett was more memorable. And the fact he was so silent, but spoke only when he was needed to, especially in Empire, when the famous quote, I quote, "He's no good to me dead."
I see. Now, you mentioned Jar Jar Binks a little while ago, too, and I know that fans really like to bag on Jar Jar. Why is it you think that Jar Jar isn't, memorable as much as, say, some of the characters in the original trilogy? As far as comic relief, it seems to me like Jar Jar was probably meant for a bit of comic relief, and that where R2-D2 and C-3PO in the original trilogy succeeded, Jar Jar pretty much fell through during the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy. And why do you think that would be?
Well, Jar Jar just seemed like the way he was like in situations, the fact he was being annoying and with his little antics, and I don't know, episode 1 because of the fact it was martial arts, but I just couldn't stand the fact Jar Jar was just not as funny as he seemed, and just I couldn't watch myself laughing. I saw people leave the theater when I saw Phantom Menace for the very first time because of Jar Jar, and I mean, afterwards I just prayed that he would be in the second prequel film or third prequel film.
So when Phantom Menace was released, you actually saw people who were seeing this movie for the first time, as you were, actually get up and leave the movie theater.
Correct, that is correct.
He really did have that kind of high-pitched, almost annoying kind of voice. But, for me, Jar Jar actually was kind of funny. And whereas C-3PO really hadn't been completely built yet, and R2-D2 was basically just one of Padme's mechanical droids on her ship. No, they hadn't been discovered yet, and you didn't have that duo of R2-D2 and C-3PO, so the comic relief there just couldn't exist yet. I think Jar Jar, to me, was probably created to kind of fill in that void so that we can have some kind of comical relief from some point during the movie. And it would seem to me that Lucas probably failed in that what he created comically with R2-D2 and C-3PO, he didn't really have with Jar Jar. Now, do you think that might be because Jar Jar was just alone, just a single individual, whereas with R2 and 3PO you had that ability for the two to interact with each other?
I think a partner would have been appropriate for Jar Jar. Maybe it would have been forgivable, but still he was lacking. I guess the partner would definitely have helped his character a lot.
To me, I actually found it quite comical, and but to each his own. I'm not saying that I love Jar Jar. He probably is one of my least favorite characters. However, I do find him appreciable. And then again, of course, I grew up with Star Wars, and I like all things Star Wars. So anyway, in the Star Wars movies then, what would you say is your probably most favorite scene out of all the Star Wars movies, if you have one?
I believe that would be the Cosby duel of Vader versus Luke.
That's one of my favorites.
The most memorable line, "I am your father."
I am your father. That's one of my favorite scenes as well, too. If you could ask or say anything at all to George Lucas, what would that be?
What is the difference between a dark Jedi and a Sith in his terms? Not the expanded universe's terms, but the his terms.
Well, thank you, Walter, very much for taking the time and being a telephone guest right here on the Dark Side Chats.
Thank you, Lord Bruticus, for having me, and may the dark side be with you.
And also with you, my friend. And now, the question to answer. Star Wars is filled with a seemingly endless list of different types of ships, from fighters to large capital ships, troop transports to blockade runners. What type of ship in Star Wars is your favorite, and why? Be sure to put your answer in the comments section of this episode. As you can see, I'm giving away something to do with the Phantom Menace. My telephone guest might not want it, but I am sure that someone out there will, because inside this picture frame containing a miniature movie poster of Episode 1 is also an actual piece of movie film. That's right, a piece of Star Wars film depicting Queen Amidala, along with a certificate of authenticity on the back. Yeah, it's inside there, the protective plastic, over the picture frame. Yeah. The deadline to enter this giveaway contest is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2009, at 12:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Time. For contest rules, see the video description area of this episode on YouTube and MySpace. To enter, simply send me an email at darthbruticus@aim.com. Be sure to put Episode 1 Film Piece in the subject line of your email. Feel free to also email me any questions you might have. Until next time, may the dark side be with you always. Give yourself to the dark side.
Can someone get me out of here, please? No, really, I mean it. Come on.